Thanks for joining me. It's Dating with Katy, and I am no longer dating. I am a married woman. In the last two podcasts, you might have caught that I got him to put a ring on it, and I was on my way to get married. Well, it's been a couple months actually since I've done a podcast because I have been living the dream life. And honestly, my wedding, my parties, my friends, just everything about the wedding was spectacular. And then the honeymoons, and I'll go into that into the next podcast, which will be my honeymoon highlights. Now, I know some of you are like, Katy, what does this have to do with me? I'm struggling through dating. This is here to help you, to encourage you, to show you that round two can be done right. It's still work, it's still effort, but I always do this not to boast or brag, but to really just be hopefully some joy and some inspiration in your dating life. Now, some of you are in your second round, you're post-divorce, and some of you are fresh, still hoping to get married. So please take some advice from me, see what else you can bring to the table when it's your turn. But I am excited, and I want to see my followers getting married and getting into deep, long-lasting relationships. Well, thanks for following. Make sure you follow on IG. Always email me, datingwithkaty@gmail.com, some of your ideas for podcasts. While I was on my honeymoon, I didn't post a whole lot at all. I didn't even do podcasts, nothing. But I did do a bunch of surveys on some topics that I will be doing in the next coming up podcasts. But for now, let me relive my fantastic wedding. Make sure you subscribe. And then also, if you do want to work with me, you need to get in that database so I can see either if matchmaking or my Wing Girl coaching program is best for you. All right, well, let's talk about day of and how it rolled up into becoming. Well, as you know, we got engaged, and it was kind of a shotgun wedding only because of a few things. But a lot of my followers were like, Katy, I didn't even know that you were in a serious relationship. Well, I'm a believer that you don't post pictures until you're engaged. So you actually never saw a picture of me and my man. I've seen way too many people on Instagram, dating coaches and whatnot, post their boyfriends. And these are like dating coaches. Like, I don't expect celebrities to stay together. Like, I actually expect them not to stay together. So I assume they're going to be deleting photos after. But when you're following these dating coaches and you see them, be with the love of their life and then delete him or her, but usually it's a her deleting him. Like, what does that say? What kind of testament is that to their date coaching and their matchmaking? So for me, I always had this concern. I'm never going to post someone until they put a ring on my finger, until it's serious. And I mean like moving forward serious, not like put a ring on my finger, we'll hang out together for the next 5 years, call it a day. No, this is like, I want to get married. Also, as a strong Christian, he and I had stopped having sex, even though we had before. So we were really in the zone of like, let's do it God's way. Let's do it the right way. I know for some of you, that's like unheard of. That's all right. I have no expectations on anyone else. So throughout the first 6 months of the year, he and I were dating about month 4. And I will say this, and this is in the last podcast, he'd done a little fake promise ring in February, and then he did the real ring in Florida on the beach, cute little picnic. It's on a picture on my Instagram. It was very well done. Although I was upset because I didn't have all my white dresses because he told me. He said, we're not getting engaged on this trip, so I didn't bring the outfit I wanted to wear. So guys, don't fake her out. Just play it fun. I think I talked about that in my last podcast. So rolling into that, the most difficult thing that I could foresee about a wedding between the two of us was our 6 children. And in particular were my 3 children. Getting them all together is not an easy feat. Now, you guys have seen that I do vacations with my kids. Our last vacation was in Bali, and then I just did Amalfi Coast with them. But that's because they live all around the world that I can't always get them all the way back to California. So for this wedding, I literally had to find one weekend that I could bring them all back in. Everyone has summer plans. Everyone has summer internships, camps, things like that. So there was only one weekend in this entire year that was a feasible weekend that wasn't too stressful, and it was Father's Day weekend, June 17th. Now, you have to understand that I got engaged, I think, end of April. So there was not a lot of lead time for me to throw this wedding. But I did kind of start planning it and thinking about it before he put the ring on it, because I knew with his cute little promise that it was coming. So I had told a couple girlfriends, like, hey, it's coming. Like, will you be my wing girls for my wedding? I didn't really do bridesmaids. So they kind of knew the bridal shower was in the works as well, because it literally went from engagement, 2 weeks later, bridal shower, 2 weeks later, wedding. And so maybe not that exact timeline. It could have been 3 weeks. But it really was not a rushed wedding, but just something that had to get done in the timeline that we had because of the kids. So as we were looking for locations, we only had that weekend. Now, if you know anything about finding a wedding location in Southern California, one that you love, one that's not crazily priced or expects you to have 300 people, it is not an easy feat. So that was another concern that we had. So the next thing we had to do is really figure out a guest list of how many people. And I was willing to go up to like 60. I still wanted an intimate wedding. I really, really wanted a beautiful sit-down dinner. I love a beautifully done table. I wanted lots of candles, lots of lights. I have this thing for just sparkly nights and lights and just sitting at a table with all your friends. So I knew that in that kind of intimate setting, 60 would probably be about the max. And I mean, sure, I have a lot of friends, but as I always say, you have 4 quarters, 10 dimes, and 100 pennies. I wanted it, to keep it mostly to my 4 quarters and my 10 dimes in friendships. So that guest list could be up to 60. I was shooting for more, maybe like a 30 to 45 kind of number. So with all of that, and with me being an outdoor freak, I absolutely love eating outside, being outside. When you're looking at wedding locations, I was like, well, I want to sit outside and be outside on this exact date with this number of people. And so when you're Googling it, it's overwhelming. You're looking at Instagram, you're looking at these dreamy wedding sites. And of course, my dream was to have it in the Amalfi Coast in Ravello. And in Ravello, there are 2 beautiful hotels. One is called the Belmont that has these olive trees that have lights in it that overlooks the Amalfi Coast. And then there's the Villa Sembroni, and that has this cavern inside that's always decorated lavishly, and then they have this beautiful balcony that's long, and I thought, oh, that would be dreamy. That's my dream. And then I had to shoot my own foot, because there's no way that I could possibly plan a wedding in 2 months with all my friends, with my kids, and go to Italy. So I had to let that dream die. Now, I believe that when you let a dream die, God can resurrect it to be even better, which I will share that in a minute. Or sometimes you let it die and you realize you didn't want it as bad as you thought you did. So we started looking at locations, and I am a woman on a budget. I will say this, that my husband, which is kind of fun to say, he is very financially savvy, as am I. We do it differently. But he likes things a little bit nicer, cleaner, proper than I do, where I'm like, we'll wing it, I'll spray paint it, I can make it look good, because that's kind of where I've come from. As a single mom, I was literally had a minivan with 180,000 miles. Just, you spray paint it, you make it look fresh and new again. And so I was really looking at locations. I was reaching out to people if I could use their backyards. I was trying to figure out with all my picnic paraphernalia, what can I do myself to save money? And then, I was looking at a location near the beach. It's kind of a camping, glamping place. And I figured we could do it there. The pricing wasn't too bad. The food was probably mediocre. It's a camping, glamping place, which food is important to me. But one day out of the blue, and this is how my man works. And so ladies, you got to give your man some space sometimes. My man is a thinker. I am an out loud talker. So I process everything with my hands. I'm very demonstrative. I throw out 10 different ideas, and then I look at him saying, which one? So I am always out loud thinking. He thinks quietly. So he looks at me one day and he says to me, well, what about the Montage? And now the Montage is a beautiful hotel in Laguna Beach, right on the water, somewhere I would love to get married in. As a matter of fact, I've been there multiple times. I usually do a day spa there because that's kind of the budget that I have. I don't stay there. It's too expensive. And I used to think, like, wouldn't it be great to get married here? But, I'm sure it's so expensive. Like, there's no way. And out of the blue, he doesn't even know that this is like a heart's desire. He says, what about the Montage? My mouth dropped, and I was like, what? You really? Yeah, let's look into it. And ladies, I've learned to run with it. If he says it and it's something you want to, say thank you and run with it. So we looked into it. Their restaurant is closing. They're going to refurbish it. But they have this great restaurant at the ocean's edge with a sunset patio. So we rented the sunset patio. We could put our own table on it. We got the whole area. We got a dancing area. I was like, yes, this is perfect. And it truly was. That evening was fantastic on that sunset patio. The sunset wasn't so great, but that I can live with. And so we found the great location. We decided to stay there for the weekend, which made it even more spectacular. Of course, the price tag went up, but he was so generous and was like, let's do this. Flew his kids in. All my kids flew in. So we as a family, we all had our own rooms. Everybody was fantastic there. And it was very fun because you're just on property, chilling out, enjoying our time, wearing jeans and sweatshirts and walking the beach and heading over to grab tacos. And then still staying on my budgeted mindset. I couldn't release, perhaps maybe we call it that, I couldn't release somebody else doing the flowers and the table decorations. I'm very particular. It's partly what I do for a living. I used to own a catering company. I love to throw parties and events. And in my mind, I knew what I wanted. And I didn't want to spend, $5,000 to $10,000 on flowers and someone decorating to walk out and be like, what? And then want to rearrange the whole table because I was frustrated with it. So I literally took it into my own hands and my kids. My kids are fabulous workers. They're used to me by now. So the Saturday morning of my wedding, the Friday before, I went to the flower market and bought all the flowers I wanted for $300, whites and greens and creams. And I was like, you know what? I'll just have a heyday with all these flowers. I will cut them and put them in these beautiful plastic gold vases. They look great. Nobody can tell. Because I did the flowers for my own bridal shower as well, and they looked fantastic. That was a brighter color. Now, mind you, all of the wedding invites, all my party invites, I always have dress codes. I think it's so important for photos that everyone kind of has a blending tone line. My bridal shower was these bright, I called them pops of Easter colors. And then our wedding was blues and creams. Of course, there's always somebody who comes with the black or the red or the pink, and it happens. You just smile and let it go. But when your guests show up looking the part, it just adds to the event. So thank you to all my guests who did. So I did my own flowers. I did all my own candles. My goal was to have 100 candles down my wedding table. Literally, I went to IKEA. And I can't say enough about IKEA sometimes. They have these 3 candles that nest in each other, so packing was easy. I bought the white candles that, the glass vases, white candles that go right in, boom. The biggest problem was making sure you have enough clickers to get all that lit, and the wind does not hit the flickering part. So you have to make sure your candle is lower than the glass. That I've learned through events. And then I had lots of little candles and just greenery down the table. That's all I wanted. And then we had lights right above us, which was interesting because we had to pay for them. And they were a couple $1,000s. I mean, you're thinking it's a string of lights. Really, I can skip it. Ultimately, we got a good deal on it, but that really added to the colorful element. It looks great in the photos. I did my own makeup and hair. So if you were following me during that time, I was so stressed out. Again, it's that idea. I've never really had people do my hair and makeup, so day of is never a good idea. And they want $500 for this kind of stuff. And I thought, no way, Jose. Here's Katie on her budget. But I did get some fake hair clip-ins. I was at the Walmart in Dallas, and I was walking past a fake hair place. And sure enough, found a perfect color match, curled those puppies. My hair looked fabulous that day. My makeup, I went to Neiman Marcus and had somebody do my makeup a little bit more, purchased the stuff, and now I have it. So I felt like I stayed on budget in my own mind. Felt amazing that day, looked amazing. I ordered my dress from lulus.com, loved it. It was $89. I must have ordered, the girl at the UPS store knew me from all my returns. I just did not want to go into a giant wedding shop and try on these big frilly dresses. I was like, that is not who I am in this stage. I want to be comfortable. I want to dance. I want to sit. And if I eat too much, my belly will be big. I mean, we had our own signature cocktails. I love a cucumber martini. He's a whiskey sour guy. So I just wanted to enjoy the day and not worry about a $3,000 dress. No way, no how. So everything really worked out in a favorable and a financially useful way on that day. And really, it was romantic and just relaxed. We did photos before and some photos after on the beach. We did funky sunglasses. I walked out to a Kane Brown song. We made it super simple. We had dancing at the end, nothing major, but we all got down and boogied. And really, that's what I wanted. It was a phenomenal night. My husband and I ended at the fire pit. My son was hanging out with us. We had some champagne to finish the night. and it was really magical. So thank you all for listening and joining in on that. Look, it's not like every Instagram picture. You know, sometimes I look at other people's and I think, oh, but I should have done this. Who cares at this point, right? So I just want to encourage you, if your heart's desire is to get married, hold to that, because that's God-given heart desire. And it can happen. It happened for me. So stay tuned to hear about my honeymoon highlights in Italy and a little bit of Cabo.